As the marketplace evolves, so do the qualities and expectations of the new generation entering the workforce. This new generation we're going to talk about today has career choices. What can we do in the cleaning industry to attract these younger workers, not just to take a job, but to accept a fulfilling career? And that's the focus of our program today. And I'm pleased to welcome a first-time guest, Troy Harrison. Troy is a B2B sales management coach. Troy, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm glad to be on.
Since you're new to the program, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. I've been in sales now since 1990. Matter of fact, I started out. I actually started out selling new cars, which seemed like a good idea at the time because I was a car guy and I liked sales, and quickly discovered that wasn't my industry. And I spent some time as a sales rep and a sales manager in several B2B industries. And kind of like I was talking to you, most of my sales work was in the dirty hands industries as well. Things like industrial supplies, laundry and linen, that kind of thing. Hung out my shingle as Troy Harrison and Associates in 2004. As a matter of fact, as we speak, I am about 26 days from my 20-year anniversary in business. So that's kind of fun. But I have as of now, I've spoken at conferences all over the United States and North America and in Europe. I've trained salespeople from 23 different countries who live on three different continents in a variety of, as you said, business to business industries, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, business services. And my work is focused on really the evolution of sales. Sales is changing more now than it ever has. It's a lot of fun because we have forces acting on us that are generational, cultural, and technological. And those managers and business owners who adapt well to those are going to be the ones who succeed and thrive. And that's why I'm excited about today's topic.
I am too, Troy. We talk a lot about hiring people and so many programs about where do you find good workers,
Yeah.
professionals. Before we started recording, you talked about something that's exciting to you, and that's finding these younger workers, but finding them in a way that works because they're out there.
Oh, yeah.
What do we do to get them? Can you talk about that a bit? What is your strategy you'd like to share today?
Sure. There are a couple of different prongs to this. Number one is the messaging itself, and number two is the medium for delivering the message. So let's talk about the message. Once upon a time, you could sit down, grab the HR job description out of the file, throw it up on Monster, and the world would beat a path to your door. And it's just not that way anymore. Hiring is a marketing project. It's not an HR project anymore. What people don't understand is that when you decide to hire somebody, you are competing with everybody else who would like to have that person, whether in the cleaning industry or in whatever industry. And we've got to think a little more, I don't want to say globally, but a little more broadly about how we attract these people. So the verbiage that you use in your messaging needs to be all about why it is awesome to work for you. And as part of that, and I'm a sales guy, as you mentioned, I think overall that and I'm using we in the large scope as the sales profession, I think we've done a really crappy job of marketing sales as a way to have a great career and make a living. 5% of America's self-made millionaires are salespeople that have never worked for themselves. They've been W-2 employees for all their lives. And there is no other career, in my opinion, that is as accessible as a way to build a great future for yourself and your family than the sales profession. Obviously, I'm biased. I love it. But I think that we need to market sales as a way to have a great future, to have the things in life that you want, to be able to deal with people and work with people and help them solve problems and get personal gratification out of that as a way to be part of a team and contribute. Sales is the tip of the economic spear for all of the companies that we do business with, and we need to bake that into our advertising, particularly when you're looking at hiring those younger and entry level people. Second, I think the message has to talk a little bit about quality of life. You know, very few younger people. I was having this conversation with a client last week, in fact. Very few younger people want a job where they feel like they've got to be on call all the time. You know, work-life balance. I'm Generation X, which, let's be honest, the most awesome generation ever. Um, but I think that work-life balance really is something that started with our generation. The boomers were very much a live to work generation. We started becoming a work to live generation. And I think the messaging that you put out there in terms of your advertising, your job advertising, needs to focus on that. It needs to be, look, yeah, we expect you to work hard between the lines, but after that, we want you to go home and enjoy your lives. Enjoy your life, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends. Then let's pick it up and kick ass again tomorrow morning. And I think that if your sales job, if you build a sales job with the expectation that people are going to have to work 60, 70 hours a week, they're going to have to answer the phone on vacations, on the weekends, I think you're going to go begging for salespeople. And I think that we also need to be conscious of how younger people build loyalties. Younger people have recognized that the 40-year career, the retirement party, and the gold watch aren't a thing anymore. So younger people build loyalties to individual leaderships rather than organizations. So in your advertising message, you need to emphasize the quality and support of the leadership. You can even go all the way down to talking about the individual manager that you're working for. You're going to be working for John Smith, and here's what John's all about. Now, with all that said, I've barfed out a lot of information. Now I'm going to give you something else. You need to have two versions of job ads. One needs to be more long and expansive because, as they say in the marketing business, long copy sells. The other one needs to be 2 to 3 paragraphs max so it can fit in maybe one scroll on a smartphone. Because keep in mind, more and more people are going to be looking at their ads on these things. So that changes it a little bit. You have to be a little bit more flexible with your messaging. But I think and what I'm seeing, it's not even what I think, it's what I'm seeing. Those companies that embrace those concepts are still getting a good flow of applicants. And those companies that haven't adapted to the changes within the last 5 years, they're struggling at getting good people. So that's kind of a little microcosm of what the messaging is all about. Now let's talk about the medium because younger people are consuming information in different places. Yes, a lot of younger people are still going to Indeed to look for jobs. And by the way, I recommend Indeed and I recommend LinkedIn's jobs boards. When I work with hiring assistants with my clients, that's where I tell them put the ads on LinkedIn and on Indeed's jobs boards. And if there are industry boards or local boards that can augment that, absolutely do that. But those two to me are the core of a job search. However, here is something that I learned about last year. I did a conference in the office supply industry, and it was a world summit. And I'll be honest, when I signed up to speak at a world summit, I thought, yeah, yeah, yeah. The outfit that was putting it on was out of England, but I thought this is going to be a bunch of Americans and maybe one or two Englishmen seasoned around the edges. There were people from 17 countries there. It was amazing. And I'm riding the bus to dinner with a guy from Denmark, and we're having this conversation about hiring. And he said, Troy, something that's working real well for us over in Europe is video job ads to attract younger salespeople. Tell me more. And he said, we cut about a 60-second video. We put it on TikTok. We put it on Facebook Reels because that's where those younger people are. And in the caption to the video, we'll link to the actual job ad because that's our mechanism of employment. But he said, TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, always have to say that, and Instagram and LinkedIn, put it on all those places, and they do have success. So in the last year, I've been pumping this to my clients. I've only had 3 that have had the guts to actually do it because everybody says, "Oh, I don't look good on video." To hell with that. Everybody looks good on video. It doesn't have to be slick and professionally produced. Matter of fact, it's probably better if it isn't because it looks more authentic. Cut a 60-second video. And I had one client that had 2 salespeople One is 28, one is 30, that they're both very successful. And they're talking about, this is why I love selling for this company. They made two different videos, popped them out on TikTok, and their views of their job ad went up and their applicant flow went up. So the companies that have had the guts to do this are getting results. So I think the medium is big, and then also share that job ad out on on whatever social media channels you have, and have your individual people. If And this is important, it's actually more effective to share that out via individuals than it is by your company page. Most of the people who follow you on your company page are your customers and people who want to sell you something, and your own employees. If you have your individual employees send that out on their own channels, you're going to get a lot more bandwidth and a lot more views.
Really good tips, Troy. I'm a Gen X too by 1 year, by the way.
Okay.
I missed the baby boom by 1 year. So, but we won't argue who the best generation. We'll make some enemies on this recording if we do that. No, good stuff. So once you have and I love the video messaging part of this, that's got to work as well. Once you have your applicants coming in, you have this interest. What are you looking for at that point? Because, we haven't figured out the best type of salesperson to hire. Any thoughts there?
That can vary very much depending on the company. I'm sorry. One thing that I forgot to mention, you have to demonstrate in the hiring process that you are a tech forward company. Younger salespeople, if you aren't tech forward, if you don't understand social media, if you don't understand CRM, they're going to walk away and look for somebody else because this makes sense to them. So, okay, now what are we looking for? Sorry to interrupt, but I had to throw that in. Um, I think what you're looking for is somebody who is on the way up. Now, let me qualify that a little bit. One thing we see a lot with millennials and Gen Zs, Gen Z, of course, being about 29 and down nowadays, they tend to be much more task oriented than goal oriented. And that's okay. If you've got a good set of activity metrics and you have a good roadmap to your success, that will instinctively make sense to those task oriented people. So just because somebody has a more task orientation than a more goal orientation, don't think that they can't be successful in sales, because they absolutely can. I'm seeing it. But what are we looking for? Well, for most small to medium sized businesses, I still recommend that you be their second or third sales job rather than their first. Because when somebody comes directly out of college, not only, or even if they didn't go to college, I'm not telling you to look away from people who didn't go to college. There could be a lot of usefulness there. Um, the problem with catching somebody right out of school in their first professional job is, not only do you have to teach them your job functions, you have to teach them how to work. And a lot of small to medium sized companies just don't have the framework for doing that. If you do, great, that's wonderful. But I look for somebody who has demonstrated that they can show up and work a 40-hour week, that they are conscious of the idea that their job is to accomplish something, and that has had their nose bloodied and understands sales a little bit. They understand what sales is all about. Obviously, I'm looking for somebody who can communicate well. And when I say communicate well, I think nowadays salespeople need to be versatile. Salespeople need to be able to communicate via email, via text, in person, face to face, and via Zoom. And I would build a hiring process where I have interactions with them in all those different frameworks. And it's not that difficult to do. Maybe have a quick 5-minute pre-screening interview by Zoom. Even if all your most of your sales interaction is face to face, build a quick little Zoom interaction in there just to prove that they know how to use it, that they can create a good impression on video, that they understand that even if you're out and about, you've got to do it somewhere where the camera's stable, where you have good reception. You'd be amazed at some of the people that lack those basic Zoom skills And quite frankly, if you don't have those skills nowadays, you're going to struggle as a salesperson. During the hiring interactions, send them a text or two and see how ask them a question by text, see how they respond. Can they put together a grammatically correct text, or does it read like a 13-year-old girl's message to her BFF? All of these things make up what we're looking for as a candidate. Obviously, email. I spoke at a conference a few years ago, 2 years ago, and one of the sales managers in the audience said to me, Troy, these younger buyers, all they want to do is text. They don't want to talk to people. How can we teach them how to do it right? And I just started cracking up. I said, if your buyers only want to text, then you better get good at texting. So I think understanding if your prospective salespeople know how to do that. Can they follow the train of a conversation? Are they intellectually curious enough to ask good questions? Give opportunities to ask questions during the interview, see what kind of questions they ask. Some things are traits, some things are skills. Skills can be taught, traits cannot. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And it's all about communication to me.
Yeah.
Whoever you hire, they need to be able to communicate to your clients or potential clients in a way that'll bring them in. But another line of reasoning here, I was thinking as you're talking, Troy, your traditional salesperson, the baby boomer, the Gen X,
Hmm.
they to me can take a rejection.
Hmm.
They've learned to do it. They can get the bloody the nose comment. These younger generation, maybe that's not their thing. So how does that play into it? The rejection cycle of a salesperson. Now I realize you said let them have a job or two before you bring them in,
Yeah.
but what do you think?
I think one way that you can assess that is during the interview, you can throw an objection or two at them. Not a rejection. Maybe just reject something they say rather than reject them as a person. Because if you say, for instance, let's say that they're explaining to you why they were great at this one particular job that they held, and you say, you know what, I don't really buy that. I don't know that you really were what you say that you are. See how they handle that. If it's a soul destroying experience to them, you have a problem. And now you can even have if you discover it's a that difficult of an experience to them, but you're still interested, you can have a dialogue with them during that conversation. Say, look, it appears that you have a big issue with rejection. Let's talk about that for a minute, because in sales, you're going to get rejected 90% of the time. And if they can't handle doing that, it's going to make sales a very unpleasant uh, career for them. But you're right. I mean, we talk about participation trophy culture all the time, but there is a reality of
Yeah, sales isn't for everyone. To
that. No.
me, I'm not in sales as you are, but we all sell all the time in a
Oh
way,
yeah.
selling what we do. But yeah, it takes a special person to close that deal and to get over the rejection that comes and then put that smile on your face and get back on your next call. So, and I love the tech aspect of it. You're right. These young people, they want to use technology, AI, CRMs, and all of that. Yeah.
I actually was working with a client on a hire last year, and they had a younger salesperson that they were very high on. When I say younger, he was, I think, 32, 33, somewhere in there. And they asked, this salesperson asked the sales manager, so what CRM do you use? And the sales manager said, well, we haven't really implemented CRM yet. And the guy said, no offense, we're done here. He said, if, and the sales manager was kind of drawn aback, and I knew what was happening. And he said, why? And the guy said, look, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but if you're that far behind the times that you don't have a CRM, you're going to be behind the times in other ways. And every one of those ways means that I'm going to struggle and I'm going to have trouble making a living. That's the truth.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the absolute truth. And if you can't do those things, you're gonna have problems.
Stick with your baby boomer or Gen X salespeople at that point.
Well, and the problem with that is that we need to hire younger
Mhm.
salespeople because, and here's a stat, the average age of a professional business to business salesperson right now is 47.1 years. 15 years ago, it was 42. The profession itself is graying, and we need to bring new blood into this profession. And I don't care what company you're with. Uh, if your sales team, if the average age starts with a 5, and hey, I'll be honest, my age starts with a 5. It's not ageism, but the reality is to have a sustainable ongoing sales team, you're going to have to bring in some new blood. There's a lot of salespeople out there that are in their 60s that are still great, or even in their 70s that are still great, still doing well, but they're thinking about that well-deserved retirement.
Sure.
And we owe it to them even to have younger people coming in under them who can fulfill their shoes.
Yes, and got to make the industry attractive to them because there's so many options, as I mentioned at the outset. Maybe more exciting jobs in their mind, but this can be a good career choice. But it's up to
Absolutely, it can be.
employers to offer that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing: there are a lot of industries out there that aren't particularly glamorous. It's hard to get truly passionate about a bottle of cleaning fluid or a bearing, to get to a sales job that I had, or a laundered shirt. But you can get passionate about the activity. You can get passionate about the effect that those things have on their customers. And I think that in the hiring process, those are the things that managers need to emphasize in their own excitement. You know, here is what your customers will achieve. Here's how you make your customers better. Younger people like to see the meaning behind things. And when you show them the meaning behind it, say, look, this is how our customers get better for doing business with us, that helps them get passionate, and it helps them succeed. And it helps you attract them.
Exactly. Well, good conversation, Troy. Any final thoughts to share?
The only final thought that I have to share is this. Actually, God knows I've got a lot of thoughts, but on this topic, we're going to share this final thought. Try things. If you are recruiting salespeople, if you're trying to recruit younger salespeople and you're not having the success that you want, the rules are off. Try things. Again, try video messages, try popping out pictures of happy employees on Instagram. Try reaching those audiences because it's very hard for trying things to hurt you right now, but it's very easy for not trying things to cost you opportunities. And I guess the number one thing I'd say to hiring managers, be brave. Be brave, take chances. Right now is all about taking chances, and the companies that are taking chances are having success.
Good final thoughts here, Troy. Appreciate your time today. And those watching, hopefully they can use some of these strategies to find those younger workers that they need.
Absolutely.
All right.